Does any country, 193 or 192 except the United States, would even dare think about criticizing or commenting on Americans' own electoral arrangements, whether federally or for a state? It's none of our business. What does it make Hong Kong your business? Whereas Black Lives Matter, storming of Capitol Hill, everything going on in America is none of our business. Why is that? Very simple. International, why is that? Right? Right? Are we talking about a Holocaust in Hong Kong? What is it? Right? That is in your face. Right? All we see are exactly what's happening in America to what's happened in Hong Kong in 2019, where whatever your grievance is, whatever your mission is, don't break down society in your protesting. That's the point, not in the protest itself, right? But none of that is brought forward. None of that justice is due to Hong Kong society. It's all coming out like Chris Patton coming out to say, these are all democratic warriors. Really? It's clear, number one, it's not about the content. It's not about the said national security law. In that case, very simple. Come and have a debate on it, right? You invite people, get your academics to join our academic professors and say, look, this system is wrong. Look at our system, our national security. Try that. Let's compare the American national security laws with the national security law in Hong Kong. Let's see, right? Which country? Pick one. Pick the British one, how they behave in Northern Ireland with their emergency powers. Come on, let's talk about that, all right? Why, how come it's always talking about our subject and not yours? And then the other thing is this, that they don't care about the content because it's clear they never reach out to understand the content. It's always what's called a bird's eye view, not what I call the worm's eye view on the ground. They never get it. Who did they get it from? The consulates here, all right? And do the consulates really connect? They're already doing what consulates should not do, which is political interference in the place where your consulate is situated. You're not an embassy. You don't speak for your country. You're here just to renew passports to promote trade. Why is the US consulate's got 200, a British consulate got 200 employees? They don't even renew passports. They're all there to write reports for the government and crash in on Hong Kong. So therefore, the script is already predetermined, not in 2019. The minute Hong Kong's sovereignty was exercised by the Chinese government, when they resumed exercise sovereignty in 1997, an opportunity presents itself to foreign powers in Hong Kong, which is what? This could be an ideal base to subvert China and its influence in Hong Kong and in the world. Because what we do is that we turn Hong Kong into something which is not envisaged by one country, two systems, where you can have mob riots, where you need to overthrow how the Hong Kong government is put in place. And mind you, all these political arrangements, if you go back to the JLG agreement, a lot of these are suggested by the British side and agreed to by the Chinese side. A lot of it, executive-led government, yeah, functional constituencies, right? Gradual and orderly progress. All this, it's all promoted by the British during the joint liaison discussions. Any of these are disclosed? None. None of these are disclosed. They are telling an outright lie, a blatant lie. Right of abode in Hong Kong. That was the first thing that the JLG need to decide on, that Chinese people in the mainland can't come to Hong Kong, have a baby and become a Hong Kong resident, have a right of abode. That was all decided upon. But when the Court of Appeal got it wrong in Hong Kong, final appeal, and China has to stick to the Joint Declaration and say, that's not going to happen, they come out in the 6-month report blasting China instead of commending it for sticking to the Joint Declaration. The first thing, two things the British government didn't want for Hong Kong: no communism, no socialism, and none of these 1.3 billion mainland people flooding into Hong Kong, right? That was the two things agreed upon in the JLG. Did you come out and own up to it? No, instead you come out and told a blatant lie, right? And you told the British Parliament a blatant lie. And do they care about Hong Kong? All these 6 monthly reports in the British Parliament. In all these 23, 4 years, there's about 48 reports. Has any question ever been asked by Parliament? Once, when I asked one MP from me to please ask a question, that was the only question asked in the British Parliament. All these were not even read. These are all just for show. All these 6-month reports on Hong Kong, as if they care for Hong Kong. Not one MP raised a question on the subject, let alone look at it, right? So the hypocrisy is getting to a stage where it is something which, as I keep saying, how do you dial it back? All right? But as I keep saying, I remind the words again from the American president's inaugural speech, that the defining value, when the society is so divided in America, that the defining American value is the search for the truth. Because unless there is truth, there can be no reconciliation. So if you want to have, what's the way forward? To have reconciliation with China, with Hong Kong, well, own up to the truth. Connect again, right? But I don't think diplomatically this will happen, because as you say, people don't look at the history of this. What is the Five Eyes Alliance? Why is there a Five Eyes Alliance? It's a vestige of the Second World War. It's after the Second World War when the international order looked to America as the savior of the world. It defeated the Japanese in Asia, in the Pacific. It defeated the Germans in Europe. It saved the world from the Second World War aggressors. So the international order pivots around America. And America sees its values as being represented by these Five Eyes countries. Not all the countries to stand on their side. Not India, who fought with the Americans. Not Chinese in Singapore. Not colored people. Five Eyes, white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant types. They are to be trusted, right? England, America, Australia, Canada, right? New Zealand. But at least we now see that this security alliance that secures these values, that these 5 countries out of 193 in the world represents, that these are the core heart of, as they call it, the world order. These are the people we trust. These are the countries. Really? Today? Today? Of course. Now, the whole thing is becoming, not lacking in cohesion. New Zealand says, no, apart from security matters, I don't need to do what America tells me to do. I can deal with China my own way. And China respects her for it. Right? There you see. Oh, then you have Quad. Right? If that fades, they're Quad. First India, and then Japan. No, you can see. The whole thing is going on the aggression. Right? As the previous American Defense Assistant Secretary said, you can always spot the American player at a chess game. Immediately, a very aggressive opening move and no follow-up moves. Because before, that's all it took. It all took the first aggressive move, right? And America succeeded. But since then, it's been a trail of suffering and destruction. Vietnam, right? Tunisia, everywhere Americans went. Who invaded the most countries after the Second World War? America. Whether it's Panama, whether it's Grenada. Maybe I'm a bit of a romantic, but I would like to think that the answer lies in one's own soul-searching. Unless the person who's committing aggression sees it, right? Do some soul-searching. Not, you expect the American political machinery, the way it is, to do soul-searching? No, politics is politics. Biden can only do so much because of a Democratic Party, because of the national mood, all that. This is politics. But I think the American people should do some soul-searching. You are a society that, in my generation at least, we look towards, admire. Wow, American society, American dream. Well, look at that society now and see what you are and how you're behaving to the rest of the world. Do some soul searching, and then you'll be able to see what your role is in this world, whether you are still leading or you should need to redeem yourself. And if you think you need to redeem yourself, I think that's a start for where the world can come back together. I think one thing I can speak for China, it's always open to dialogue. It's always the first to talk. It never takes an aggressive act itself. It will only try to defend. It's only when it's pushed to it. So I think that, right, as you see with the trade wars, we will sit down and talk and listen. But don't think just because you say it and you behave that way, that just because you think you are from a position of strength, that therefore there's no need for discussion, that it's really a one-way dialogue for you just to jump. We have to jump when you sing, and then if we don't match up to your values, we could be taken out. And I think it's high time for the whole world to wake up and see what the so-called leading nations after the Second World War are doing to the world order. I think that the first thing you look at, apart from visas, the first thing you look at are sanctions. Right? Countries that sanction our chief executive, our police officers, our MPC representative, just for the MPC representative to participate in the National Congress, right? To do his work. Civil servants, senior civil servants, CE doing its work will be sanctioned. That means he or she's family can't be educated abroad, they can't use credit cards. Who's going to join the civil service? Who wants to be Secretary of Justice if this is how you're going to treat them? Forget about the visas thing. And then to create this in England, oh, well, we didn't do it because we agreed not to do it, and we didn't want to do it, which is to give BTTC passport holders a right of abode in England. That was a very shameful document. It's called British No Right Orientals. That's what I call BNO passport. British No Right Orientals. You are national, but you have no right of abode. You have to, you can't come into the country unless we allow you to. You have no right to come in. So basically you are expressly a second-class citizen. And people of Hong Kong want that. And now, because of the international narrative, Boris Johnson says, right, we'll give them, come here, but bring money, bring your talent, come here, right? It's like Syria in Hong Kong, come, we open your doors. Well, just because that's your script, do you think that will affect the reality of Hong Kong? That you're painting Hong Kong into a corner where everybody should be rats deserting a sinking ship, right? And I feel sorry for those people who are lured by the British government's promises to go and live there. You think it's that easy? I lived in England 7 years. Not easy when you come from Hong Kong with a Chinese background to try and assimilate into their society. Renting a house is problematic. It's more difficult than getting a job with the references you have to get just to rent a room even, right? Do you really think that this is exactly what the people needed? They're all being sort of led into a sort of this is the logical part of the script. Now the Spring Uprising did not succeed in Hong Kong. We now have to do the refugee chapter. So here's Act 5. Refugees going to England and then settling happily, and Hong Kong will be the sinking ship. We're going to make sure we destroy it. No more judges, no more than nothing. And not made in Hong Kong, another mainland city. We've decided it's another mainland city. You 7 million people, collateral damage. I know people will not like it when I say this, but I think sometimes you have to be sympathetic towards the plight of a government in the actual situation. Government is not like superheroes. Like, wow, this is what government is. They should do this. Nothing should go wrong. And We should have no complaint and everything should be done right. Anything that's not up to our liking, bang, we go and attack. That's destruction. The government doesn't have a monopoly over society. It's our society. We have to understand and help. This government's gone through 2019, all those foreign influenced, movements, violence, breakdown of law and order, storming government departments, storming LegCo, storming police headquarters, storming the liaison office, taking the national flag down, defecate on it, throw it into the sea. How would your country react to this, I might ask, right? And then, all this is not just something that happened overnight. It's basically been nurturing there for 20-something years, that this foreign agenda has permeated into Hong Kong society in the sense of a lot of civil servants feel like that. A lot of the young feel like that. Right? A lot of people in university feel like that. For the last 24 years, because of my so-called politics, I've never been asked to go and speak at Hong Kong University to the law students. I keep saying, why not me? I mean, it must be boring to have the same people from one side speaking. Better to have an argument. It goes to show the state of Hong Kong society, where it's not just a government, where people in government, people in society have already have a very distorted view of one country, two systems. And that they've been galvanized into such social unrest and protest and upheaval that basically they were thinking, life is so bad in Hong Kong, we must have a revolution. Really? Really? I mean, in the last 24 years, prior to 2019, have any expat member feel Hong Kong is so suppressed they want to leave? Yes, the rendition arrangement was not well thought out at all. It was a mistake. But that has been taken to become, wow. Just because of a rendition agreement that the government withdrew should lead to revolution, right? The other side wanted an overthrow, a revolution of the times. Whole thing thrown under the table because we have the winning hand, we have the dynamics, we galvanize so many people on the streets, we've got international attention, we've got international governments backing us, helping us, right? So when you go down towards that road, how do you expect government now? It's a very wounded government. It's not. Then came COVID-19, right? Then the central government wants the framework to be put right again. I really think that it takes a lot for anybody to say, I'd like to come to be chief executive of Hong Kong, right? To have your team, to have Hong Kong working with all this adversity. It is a very, very difficult situation. And I think those of us who live and work in Hong Kong, we are very cognizant of the fact that it's a job that since the handover, since the resumption of sovereignty, that we've never seen people who are coming into the political fold being constructive. From day one, it's been destructive. A lot of these legislators were colleagues of mine at the bar. What they're good at, destroying the other side's case. We are great destroyers. We're not builders, we're not architects. In the whole adversarial system, the system says adversarial. The other side is the enemy. You come out and demolish them. And that's what they do in LegCo. Nothing constructive, right? So I think that it is now time also for people of Hong Kong to really ground themselves into, let's go back to chapter one. Let's have stability. Let's have rule of law. Right? Let's talk about things which are not fair. By all means, most of us here are brought up under British education, culture, educated abroad. Those values are there. Universal suffrage is promised there. But it's not for you to go and burn the house down. That's exactly my phrase. You're already knocking it down. So we need to understand the critical situation we have. Hong Kong is still a shining international city if people stop smearing it and throwing shit at it. All right, seriously. Hong Kong is vibrant, Hong Kong is free, Hong Kong is a great place to live for anybody who's lived here. Let's make that Hong Kong story right. And then forget about a future dream. We just want Hong Kong back as it was working before. And for that, I think it needs the people of Hong Kong, not just governments, not just the central government, to really have a sense of, unity and a sense of positive sort of engagement. Don't retreat into your shells. Don't have roles that you are specified by foreign nations. Oh, well, now you're refugees, Hong Kong's being undermined. Play that role. This is some, huge human social tragedy. No, refuse to be prescribed in your lives. It's your life. If it's happy in Hong Kong, it works, then stand up and for once, peacefully demand that what is ours should be returned to us, give to us, right? And I think that's something which in my 24 years of dealing with the central government or the Hong Kong government, the political will and intent is definitely there, right? You really think that after the 1st of July 1997, the central government is so excited about having 7 more million people to rule over, right? To repress, as the West will say. No. The minute that happened, it's 7 million more problems for the central government. Right? It's already treating Hong Kong with such, such respect. They actually respect Hong Kong's own system. No, it's your system. Right? You run it. Right? You've got problems, let me know. Right? And really, when I go up to have meetings with fellow legislators there, they always say, why is it you people in Hong Kong feel you're very special, not like the rest of the country? Everything is about you. It's like every day you open a newspaper, it's about Hong Kong. Let's suppress Hong Kong. Forget about all the other problems in China. It's Hong Kong. Our main job is to suppress the freedoms of Hong Kong. Come on, wake up. Why? What for? Really?